What's up, you powerful leaders? Welcome back into the podcast. Today we are talking all about authenticity. Oh, baby. What a word. I think some people have a negative relationship with that word. Show up authentically online and you're like, you either hate it or you dislike it. But you know, that's actually the first problem, is your relationship with the word authenticity. It's not being authentic. It's just you saying, I don't like it. You can change your relationship with the word authenticity by defining what authenticity actually means to you. I love the word because when I'm my most authentic self and when I define what that looks like for me, that's like this most loving, caring version of myself. So when I'm authentic online, then it's coming from a place of like love, caring, energetic, and exciting. And most people aren't defining what it means for them. And I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time showing up authentically on camera. And so today we're going to talk about how do we show up as our most fun, authentic self on social media when we're making a reel. And I'm going to give you one main strategy I like to use in this process. It definitely comes with practice. You could just be authentic on the drop of a dime with practice. But if you're not quite there yet, I'm going to give you a great tool that I like to use to show my most authentic self. And even times when I'm like just not feeling great, but I maybe have to make content or I have to show up. So what do I do? What do I do and how do I get back to center? And that's what we're talking about today. Let's go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Powerful Online Leadership Podcast. Whether you want to become an online coach or currently are one, you are here because you are seeking to make lasting changes and a greater impact in this world. With the help of my powerful guest, we are here to help you start and grow your online coaching business by leaning into what makes you powerful, learning what it takes to become a world-class coach, and of course, gaining the tools to monetize, market, and sell your service. If you love the message we are sharing on this podcast, please leave a rating and review on the platform you're listening to.
Okay, so in the intro, I was talking about defining authenticity. I want you to take a moment and think about what it would look like to show up as the best version of yourself online. Define this authentic version of you. Is it someone like me who's very excited and energetic, or is it more grounded and calm? Does authenticity mean crying on camera to your audience? Is that what it means to be authentic to you? I don't think so. And I think there's a misconception between not showing everything online, Instagram's just a highlight reel, and then being fully authentic. For me, it wouldn't feel authentic to turn a camera on while I'm crying and record myself. When I'm crying, get the fuck out of my face, let me have my space to cry. Now, that doesn't mean I can't show up on social media and share the bad parts of business or the tough parts of my life. But for me, authenticity would be that I would sit with my feelings and process them and work on, I wanted to say changing them, but it's not really about changing them, but work on processing them, right? And then how can I show up better? What have I learned from this? And that's processing, right? And then if I want to show these tough parts of my life, and maybe a week later or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months later, then I can share what I have gone through and how I processed it, how I worked through it, so that hopefully you can learn from me and do better. I'm not here to just show the highlights, all this money I made. I want to show you the times when things went bad, when things didn't go as planned, and how I worked through it. To me, that would be fully authentic. That doesn't mean for me that I have to cry on camera. Even me now saying that, like cry on camera with that tone, that's putting my version of what it means to be authentic. That's putting my story on it. That's what I feel like. I put cry on camera. I say it like that because that sounds disgusting to me, honestly. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I'm asking you, what's authentic to you? Would it be authentic to show yourself crying? And do you think that is supportive and does that feel good? And what we're really after here is when we are our most authentic self, that is allowing us to access the feelings we want to have right now. Or rather, that is allowing us to access the feelings that we want to have, right? So we are doing all of this stuff. We are living life. We are pursuing our dreams and goals because we want to feel a certain way. My question to you is, can we feel that way right now? And if our most authentic self is loving and caring and fun and exciting and joy and grounded, then can we show up when we make content in that way right now, grounded and with joy and excitement and having fun? So I'm gonna circle back to this because I wanna share, which again, I love repeating this Hormozy says it all the time. We oftentimes need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And you probably already know this. And so hopefully this ends up being a beautiful reminder to you to come back to yourself. Okay. But I want to explain something. I think frameworks are incredibly valuable. I teach a framework with my content. And inside of this framework, I break down how you can become the only and obvious solution to your ideal client's problem. Now, frameworks are great, but framework isn't the end all be all. I like to think of a framework as like the rules of Earth. Think about the rules of Earth, like gravity. We know that gravity acts on an object in a vacuum at 9.8 meters per second squared, right? That's the acceleration of gravity. If you dropped a ball from a plane, if you dropped a beach ball from a plane, it would, taking out the wind resistance, they would all fall at the same rate, 9.8 meters per second squared. Now, knowing the rules of Earth will allow you to build a rocket ship. If you know how the thrusts will react to gravity and blah, 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 and all that stuff, without making this too sciencey, not that I even could, but if you knew the rules of Earth, you could design a rocket ship. Now, here's the best part. That's the framework. But with content, with life, you now get to build the rocket ship you want to build. You get to put the windows where you want it. You get to put the cockpit where you want it and all the buttons. And you get to put the bathroom where you want it. And you get to paint it whatever fucking color you want. And you get to name it whatever the fuck you want. And that gets to be your authentic self. Now, it's really helpful to know the rules of Earth so that we can even make a rocket ship effectively and efficiently. This is how I like to look at my framework, the Zone of Genius framework, the framework to help you become the only and obvious solution to your ideal client's problem. But now that, or I should say, and now that you know the framework, you can now use this framework to show up fully, authentically you. And so I want to talk about that for a little bit. What does it mean? How do we do this? What I want people to do is to build a lifelong brand. A brand that you become the only and obvious solution to your ideal client's problems, but because you're a multidimensional person and you love baseball and you love running and you love your puppy and you love pastries and all of the stuff that maybe one day you're like, you know what? All I want to do is be a baseball coach. I just want to talk about baseball for the rest of my life. This is me talking. This isn't true because I don't want to do that. I love marketing. But let's say one day I shift and I just want to talk about baseball. Well, I can use baseball in my content while still being the marketing expert, right? I can use what's true for me and the stuff that I like and the stuff that I enjoy inside of my marketing to be fully myself. And then because I play baseball, I can talk about baseball and I can talk about how it relates to marketing. And maybe I talk about how, how did the Yankees become the most popular team in baseball? Why are the Cowboys considered, I don't know why I went football all of a sudden, but let's say it's sports, right? How are the Cowboys considered America's team? How did that come about, right? What was the marketing behind that, right? And I could use sports, I'll go to sports now. I could use sports in my examples as a marketing expert, and that's fun for me. So that's not actually what I do. What I actually do is I'll use examples like Gary Vee and Nick Bare and Wim Hof, because why? Well, I do Wim Hof. I've taken a little bit of a break, but this past summer I did Wim Hof every morning. So I'm going to use him as an example and talk about marketing. How did Wim Hof become the Iceman, right? And so I would use those examples, and guess what? That's true for me. And then I'm going to attract those kinds of people. People who aren't super into wellness probably don't know about Wim Hof, probably haven't done Wim Hof breathing, probably don't do ice baths. But I know you, my people, I can almost guarantee all of you have tried an ice bath at once. I bet you've heard of Wim Hof. So I get to use what's true for me and still be the marketing expert. And then, I don't know, maybe I want to be a breathwork expert, right? You see how this can all translate. So we're building a lifelong brand that can pivot if we end up having new passions, because we're multidimensional people and we probably won't do one thing for the rest of our lives. So we start to use these other things in our life, but we direct the messaging to the thing that we do, to the problem that we solve, right? To our zone of genius. So again, I could talk about like anything, and I could probably direct it back to marketing, just how I did like how the Yankees, and I would like research that thing. That's what helps me become the expert in my field. When I go like, okay, how did Facebook blow up? I'll do research on that. I just had a video come out about Apple, right? How did Apple explode? And I break the whole thing down, and I actually use my framework to explain it, which makes not only me the expert in the marketing world, but like I use my framework to show you how Apple became one of the biggest brands in the world. And you go, holy shit, this guy's got a framework for this? I want in, right? And I'm an Apple guy. I fucking love Apple. Got my iPhone. I love it. I got my Mac. I love that shit. So I like diving into the Apple world to understand it. And then I make content about how they built their brand. And me as the messaging and marketing guy, that supports me being the only obvious solution to my ideal client's problems. Hopefully this is making sense and helping. The last thing I kind of want to make this a little bit shorter to wrap up is that we're coming back to authenticity. So when you make content about like very general, when you like don't use specific examples and you're being very general, it's not very fun. But when I get to, and my most authentic self is fun and excited, when I get to like break down a company like Apple, or I'll go do research on, like, I'm actually so curious. I just thought of that example. And now I really want to know, how did the Cowboys become America's, they call that America's team in the NFL? How'd that happen? Someone marketed that, like that became a thing. I don't think it's that big of a thing anymore, because obviously the Packers are America's team. But where did that come from? That was a marketing ploy at some point. Now I'm curious to look into that. But that would be so fun for me to research, because I enjoy football. It's football season. It's topical. And we bring it back to marketing. Okay, so I get to be my most authentic self and have so much fun in creating content because I'm making content about things that I love. Not like, how do you build your brand? And I talk about branding in general and use general examples, and it's like, it's so boring. But no, I get to talk about the Cowboys and football. Like, that would be fun for me. So there's that. And then the second part of this, the second and final part, and before I share this part, I wanted to actually talk about how this podcast is so meta. So I tell you, I made a post one time to help you reframe your content. And I said, I think the thing people have wrong with content, it has to be perfect. And getting past perfectionism is actually, I use content as a way to get better at my craft. I don't think this podcast is perfect. And if I redid it, I could probably write down better notes and do it 10 times better. But I'm not here to be perfect. I'm using this podcast as a practice, as a way for me to communicate the thing that I teach better, so that the more content I make, the better I get at it. And then the more I teach it inside of my membership, the better I teach it and the better you understand, and the faster my clients, my paying clients, get results. So you get the free shit that is kind of my practice. And then when I go to teaching my clients, well, I've talked about it so many times on my content that I'm getting better and better at explaining it and teaching it. And I'm thinking of new examples, like the Cowboys one that I just thought of on the spot. So this whole podcast right here is me practicing what I preach. It's very kind of meta in the way of that, like, this is actually going to be one of the first videos inside of my membership. But guess what? It's going to be 20 times better. I'm going to have better examples. I'm going to speak about it more clearly. I'm probably going to say it all very, very faster. However long this podcast is, I'll probably say it in 50% of the time, because that video is going to be there for longer. It's going to be what my paying clients get. I want to give them the best experience, so they're going to get the best version of it. But the best way to practice my most authentic self and to practice my messaging is to say it out loud and put it out for the world. And so many people are just like sitting here, I'm going to journal on this idea that I have, and I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to journal on it. I'm going to wait till it's perfect. I'm going to wait till it's perfect. Well, guess what? And then you turn the camera on and you're like, I fucked it up. I'm going to re-record. I'm going to try it because I missed the thing. And you're going to do that and you're going to do that. And you realize that it's never perfect. And then a month later, you're like, oh, wait, I just thought of this example that's better than the example I used a month ago. But you never would have had that example a month ago if you didn't just make the content. It's all so different. Everything is different when it's in real time. You can practice all you want in your sports game, but until you go out on the field and it's 40 degrees and it's October and it's playoff baseball and you got a packed stadium and it's fucking electric and everyone's going, let's go, Matt. Let's go, Matt. Right? Everyone's cheering and you're getting chills up your spine, and now you're up to bat and your heart rate's a little elevated. Nothing compares to being in the moment and actually experiencing the thing. So journal all you want, you just need to make content. And so the final piece here is, how do we show up as our most authentic self? How can I get into a place, if you're struggling to get into the place and you're feeling like your content's not authentic, how do we get to a place that feels more authentic? My best example for you would be to ask you, where is the place you feel most safe? When do you feel the safest? When do ideas come to you with effortless ease? For me, it's running. And that's why you see a lot of running videos from me, because I'm feeling so energized and I'm feeling like I'm getting downloads and I feel so safe. Like running is my safe space. Being on a trail is a safe space. So I can speak to topics that just flow out of my mouth with effortless ease. I'm not worried about what people are going to think about me, because this is my truth. And so that's my most authentic self. So maybe for you, where do you feel most safe? Is it after breath work or a meditation? Is it after a workout? Is it in the middle of the workout? Is it when you're playing guitar and flowing and having fun? Where do you feel most safe? Is it with your partner? Do you want your partner in the room? Is it your dog on your lap? Then get the camera, put the dog on your lap and record. find your safest place and think about that. Even with your best friends, right? When you're with your best friends and you're like joking and laughing, that's your most authentic self because you're safe. Now, you're probably not making content in a context of like, hey, it's me and my 5 friends and we're laughing, having a good time. Hey guys, be right back. Let me take out my phone and record a video. That's probably not going to happen. So what we're working on is replicating a scenario where you feel safe again, where you feel like, I don't care about the haters because I know my truth. And this is my perspective and my point of view, and this is what matters. And I'm not worried about the opinion of other people because I know this is true for me. And there's safety there. And when you're safe, you're able to be the most creative you could be, the most authentic you could be. And that's my biggest tip. So I hope this was helpful. Look forward to next week. We talk about getting 1,000 ideas out of your head. Now we're feeling authentic. Okay, but Matt, I got 1,000 ideas. How do I get them out of my head effectively and clearly? Stay tuned for next week. Love you all. Peace.